This conference will now be recorded.
Asmadacharya-paryandam vande Guru-paramparam. Ragadirogan sadadanushaktan asheshakaya prasudan asheshan Aulsukyamoharadidan jakhana Yopurva Vaidyaya namostu tasmai. So, namaskaram to all of you. Again, we continue to read Dravadravya Vidnyaniya from where we stopped in our last session. We completed the Toya Varga, Varshasu Divyanade Param Toye Varavare. That is what we saw in our last session. Now the Kshira Varga starts. In this category, 8 types of Kshira and some of the Kshira Vikrupis, Kshireyam, are also discussed, taking mainly the Gavya, goat Kshiram and its Vikrupis as the examples. Regarding the others, generally the Kshira part only is discussed. Gavyam Mahisham cha Karabham Strainam Avigam Aibham Aigashabham Chedi Kshiram Ashtavidham Smrutam. These are the 8 types of Kshira that we are discussing here. As you all know, this is more or less like a Nikhandu part, this Dravadravya Vidnyaniya. So if you pick a few Nikhandus, maybe compiled from different parts of the country and in different times also, we may find some differences in opinion regarding the properties of some dravyas. That need not be considered as a conflict between the Nikhandukaras. It is actually a documentation of the type of the dravya, what they are exposed to or what they are documenting about. As we all know, the properties of dravya can change from place to place, then from time to time even. It is true that the very basic nature is not going to change, but avastha is very important. And if we take the Indian subcontinent as a whole, the diversity in climatic conditions, like many other factors, is quite amazing. And obviously, that will be getting reflected in the properties of the dravyas as well. So that need not be considered as a conflict. That also should be, all these conflicting ideas should be taken into consideration while understanding a dravya in totality. That's all. Now we come to the Kshira Varga. In Kshira Varga, first we find some sort of a Samanya Gunam of Kshiram. Swadupagarasam Snigdham Ojasyam Dhaduvardhanam Vadapittaharam Vrishyam Shleshmalam Guru Sheetalam Praya Payaha. Prayaha Payaha Swadupagarasam Snigdham Ojasyam, Dhaduvardhanam, Vadapittaharam, Vrishyam, Shleshmalam, Guru, Sheetalam. So this is a list of properties that we find, or anybody that one finds as the general characteristics of a product called Kshiram. That Praya Shabdam, that indicates the fact that these properties cannot be seen in the same grade, in the same gravity or intensity or dominance in all types of kshiras, the 8 types what we discussed earlier, or what we named at least earlier. Still, we consider these as the samanya guna of kshiram. It is swadupaga rasam. So that praya shabdam, prayaha swadupaga rasam. There are some other milks which is not that swadu in its rasam or pagam. And there are some discussions going on in the commentaries. When we say that it is swadu pagam, as per the basics, it is quite evident that it is swadu rasam also. Swadu paduscha madhuram. Then why should it be specifically mentioned? Swadu paka rasam. Then they explain it. That is to show that this is quite strikingly swadu pagam. It is swadu rasam and quite strikingly swadu pagam. To highlight that idea, it is mentioned with some extra emphasis. Snigdham, ojasyam. Ojasyam means ojase hitam or ojaskaram. Ojas, the concept of ojas we have gone through earlier on. Then dhaduvardhanam. Dhaduvardhanam means which causes the vriddhi of dhadus. Dhaduvardhanam. Vadapitta haram. It is Vadapitta shamanam. Vrishyam. Vrishata karam. So that dhaduvardhanam itself is sufficient, because there in dhaduvardhanam no specific dhadu is highlighted actually. So obviously it will be working on the saptama dhadu as well. So that itself is sufficient to show that this is vrishyam. But that is not sufficient, because kshiram has got a special affinity towards the saptama dhatu. True that it enhances the nourishment status of all the dhadus, and from that perspective the shukra dhatu is also getting its share, but that is not sufficient to show the peculiarity of kshiram. Kshiram has got a specific affinity, a specific inclination, a specific drive to enhance the nourishing status of shukra dhatu, and to highlight that it is specifically highlighted or mentioned that it is vrishyam, shleshmalam, guru, Sheetalam. There is no controversial ideas behind these properties. So, prayaha payaha, payaha kshiram, swadupagarasam, snigdhamojasyam dhaduvarthanam, vatapittaharam vrishyam, shleshmalam, guru sheetalam. So that is about, in general, the properties of kshiram. Then we come specifically to the different types of kshiras. First, we start with the go kshiram or gavyam. Atra gavyam tu jivaniyam rasayanam. Atra gavyam tu jivaniyam rasayanam kshata kshina hitam medhyam balyam stanyakaram saram shramabhramamada-lakshmi swasakasadi-trikshutha. Swasakasadi-trikshutha. There is a difference in opinion about the terms used. Here we find in the text as kasa aditrit kshutha, but in some textbooks or some as per some authors or commentators at least, the line can be Swasakasarti Trutshutha, or again some other authors has got the opinion that Swasakasa Adhi Trutshutha. Then Jirnajvaram Mutrakritchram Rektapittam cha Nashaye. Atra gavyam tu. Gavyam means the milk taken from cow. Godugdham. That is Godugdham. That is Jivaniyam. Jivaniyam. It has got a peculiar property called Jivaniyam, which is good for Ayus. Jivaniyam. That itself is very much connected to the concept of Ojasyam, what we found earlier as the Samanya Guna of Kshira. Rasayanam. It is Rasayanam. Rasayanam again is some sort of a glorified terminology for that Dhadu Vardhanam, what we saw as the Samanya Guna. Labhopayo hi shastanam rasadinam rasayanam. That is how it is defined. So it is Dhadu Vardhanam, here specifically Rasayanam. Kshatakshina hitam. Hitam. It is good for kshati, somebody who has met with an incidence of kshata, urakshata. Kshina hitam. Kshina. Kshina dhadu. Sometimes it is considered as a single word, kshatakshina. Somebody who has become kshina, that means kshina dhadu, because of a kshatam, urakshatam. In any case, in all these three conditions, it is hitam, kshatakshina hitam. Medhyam, it is medhyam. Medhyam means something which is good for the medha. Medhyam. Medha is the dharana shakti. So good for medha. Medhyam. Then balyam, good for balam. Balyam. Stanyakaram. Stanyakaram. It increases the stanyam, breast milk. Strinam stanyakarane heduhu ityarthaha. Arunadatta comments. Strinam Stanyakarane Hetu. Saram. It has got the Sara property also. Saram. Then Nashayed, under that particular function, a list of diseases we find, conditions we find, which includes Shrama, Brahma, Mada, Alakshmi, Swasa, Kasa, Aditrit. There we already found that there are differences in opinion. Trit, Kshudaha. So it pacifies all these conditions. Then cures Jirna Jwaram, Mutra Krichram. It clears Mutra Krichram. Rekta Vittam Cha Nashayed. If you go through the Chikilsa Sthanam in these given situations, we can find how they are used. So ideally, this Dravadravya Vidnyaniyam or any other textbooks of or any other chapters of this nature should be learned, connecting them to the application. So in Jirna Jwaram, we find it. Jwaraksheenasya nahidam vamanam na virejanam kamam tu payasa tasya niruhairva harinmalan. And then the next couple of lines that is actually more important. Kshirojitasya praksheenashleshmano dahatridvataha kshiram pittanilartasya pathyamapyadhisarinaha. Jwarachikitsitam. Slokam 106, 107, 108. Like that, a few slokas we will find. Kshirojitasya prakshina shleshmanaha. That is very important. Prakshina shleshmanaha. Because kshiram by and large is shleshmalam. So whenever you prescribe kshiram as a medicine, you should make sure that there is no prominence of shleshma. Ideally, we expect that the shleshma is a bit kshina. Prakshina shleshmanaha. Prakshina shleshmanaha. Daha tridvataha. Daha tridvataha. That also we find. That means it is good in such conditions. Shrama Brahma Mada Lakshmi Swasaka Aditrit Kshudaha. So it is covered. Daha tridvataha kshiram pittanilartasya. Pittanilartasya. That also we find in the Samanya Guna of kshiram Vadapittaharam. Vadapittaharam. Pathyamapya adhisarinaha. Even in adhisaram. Why that even? Generally, kshiram is saram. Adhisaram is a condition where this adhisaram, adhisaranam is a feature. So even in adhisaram, if the condition actually suits to what we find here in the first line, that means Kshirojitasya prakshina shleshmanaha. In an adhisara, a condition, a vyadhyavastha comes where there is prakshina shleshmanaha. Then daha tridvataha. The person is having daha and trit in one avastha of adhisara, and the condition predominates with the pitta and vayu. Then even in adhisara, this kshiram is ideal. And the next couple of lines, next couple of slokas, tadvapurlanghanotaptam plushtam vanamiva agnina divyambu jivayed tasya jwaram chasu niyachadi. That is how this kshira is becoming the best option, the ideal choice in that particular state of prakshina shleshma vada pittottara jwaram or pittanilartha jwaram. Tadvapur langhanotaptam plushtam vanamiva agnina divyambu jivayed. As if the rain is going to make fresh buds, fresh branches, fresh leaves, all these things to come up from the trees or from the plants which were practically burnt off by a forest fire. In the next rains, they come up again. In the same way, a person who is literally burnt off or charred off by the jwara santapam, he gets a fresh lease of life when he is consuming this kshiram. Tadvapur langhanottaptam pushtam vanam ivagnina divyambu jivayed tasya jwaram chasu niyachadi. Samskritam shidam ushnam va tasmad dharoshnamewa va. So Samskritam shidam ushnam va dharoshnamewa va vibhajya kale yunjida jwarinam handyadonyatha. Vibhajya kale yunjida jwarinam handyadonyatha. Kale. So the Vaidya should be very sharp in the assessment of the dosha vikalpa. Jwarinam handyadonyatha. Otherwise, it is going to cause serious problems. Handi adonyatha. If it is given in a wrong situation, in a wrong way, in a wrong mode, then it is going to be counterproductive. And we find many combinations there. So that is the application, one application where we find this. You go to Raktapittam, you will find this. In Mutrakrutram, you will find that. In Udaram, you will find this. So in many conditions, you can find that this kshiram is used in a judicious way to get the best outcomes. Then next we find is Mahisha Kshira. Before that, I think we should make some sort of an understanding about the Kshiram, what we are really discussing here. This Kshiram, what we see in the textbook, is ideally from the cows which moves around, grazes, and walks and rests, climbs maybe the hilltops or long grasslands. So all these things are quite essential. In one of the situations where we find the usage of Panchagavyam, everybody will be knowing the situation. There, how to use this Panchagavyam, or from where this Panchagavyam is to be collected. In such situation, there is one interesting observation made by the commentators. This Panchagavyam is to be collected from the cows which are not artificially fed. if you take that commentary, or in even in textbooks like some Kashyapam, you will find that natu annabhakshininam gavam, natu annabhakshininam gavam, even those cows who eat cooked food. Annam here we can take as cooked food, maybe the one which we prepare for the cows by cooking various grains and everything. Natu annabhakshininam gavam. Then what type of cows then you have to take? Agram agram charandinam oshadhinam rasam vane. So in the vana they move and they eat these different types of oshadhis, what they see around, and that is going to be their source of food. Then they are getting converted into their rasadhadu and later the stanyam, and that is the that stanyam or milk what we extract from them, and it is with this we make this ghee and everything. And it is from the same cow that we collect the gomeswarasam and gomutram. So then only you can expect the sort of result what is envisaged in the context of explaining Panchagavya. So now the situation is again different. It is not about the annabhakshininam gavam. The situation is not that. They are getting some sort of artificial this food pellets, which is having many things in them. Even if I understood it right, even some non-vegetarian stuffs, some protein contents, excessive protein contents, then fortified with many artificial nutrients. This is what we give as cattle feed these days. So it is not even the case of annabhakshininam gava. We are living in again an extremely different situation. So when you take the milk from such a cow, then you are getting it from maybe a vendor, maybe some milk marketing society, or some large scale dairy farm where these things will be homogenized. So it is not at all from a single cow. There is no question of getting the milk from a single cow. So they are homogenized, they are mixed together and passed through certain arrangements where all the milks will be of the same, made into the same consistency in terms of its ingredients. Homogenization, and that is how they standardize it. In that process of homogenization, you will find different grades of homogenization. Certain percentage of fat, then there may be zero fat, there may be more fat, protein contents are differing. So all these things are done in homogenization, and then that maybe getting it pasteurized. So what I mean ultimately is, don't expect the properties what we find in the pages of Vagbhada to a milk what we get right away from the market or from our next shop. So we have to put our brains together to make fresh assessment of different types or different grades. In Kerala, we have got different grades of milk available from our government mechanism. There is one society called Milma. They make different grades of milk, which is made clear from the different colors of the packs in which they come. There may be blue colored, there may be yellow colored, there may be orange color, not orange, rose colored. So different colors of this packing represents different grades of milks in terms of their fat content and other things. Even these days, they have come up with the milk fortified with some other immune boosting herbs in the advent of this our SARS-CoV-2 infection or pandemic. So milk has become some sort of a industrial product. It is no more a natural food we get or we extract from our own cows, what we keep in our cow sheds. It is a different it's a commercial product. So we have to be very much analytical, observational, and make some sort of a judicious inferences about what we get, whether this will be the rasayana, it will be having that Vidnyaniya property, whether this is stanyakaram. I'm repeating on the same point again because we can find that especially in balachikitsa, many diseases are vanishing spontaneously once you withdraw the milk available from the market. And there are many clinical entities in which milk is like a poison. And there are many sub-classifications of milk available. The milk protein called casein is not of the same type across continents. What we had in the milk in the Indian subcontinent, there were many types of cows, many types of native cows in India, and the protein, the casein, what they had in their milk, and the casein, what we find with the cows in some other continents, especially the Europe, then Australia, New Zealand. Australia and New Zealand are very famous, if not notorious, for their milking machines called cows. They have manipulated them in such a way that it is no more, it is not at all milk anymore. Then the Swiss breed, many other things, Holstein. So in these types of big cows, huge cows, which gives maybe some 20 to maybe 30 liters of milk or even more, the casein, the status of casein is entirely different. So they are creating a lot of health issues as well. Milk related allergies, milk related metabolic problems, and all are there in plenty in the new emerging diseases. So be very careful about the use of milk, especially as food. As medicine, okay, fine, there we have choices. We can medicate them with something else. We have some choices of altering the way in which they are consumed. So that may be a safer option, but as a food, I think you have to think twice. Only if you are getting good quality of milk from reliable sources, then you go for it. Even in our villages, cows are kept under constant observation of this veterinarians and other doctors of that sort, and they are very frequently treated with antibiotics and many other things. So you have to be very cautious. Many diseases are spread through milk these days. Fine. So with that, we will switch over to the next type of milk explained, that is mahisham. Hidam atyagnyaniddrebhyo gariyo mahisham himam. Hidam atyagnyaniddrebhyo. Atyagnyaniddrebhyo hitam. Gariyah mahisham kshiram himam. So mahisham kshiram has got certain properties. It is gariyah, gariyam, gurutaram, than the milk what we saw earlier. That means the cow's milk. It is himam. All milks are himam. Then what is there to highlight? It is highlighted because it is himataram, Shidataram than the previous one. Then due to these features, it is Atyagni anidrebhyo hitam. Atyagni anidrebhyaha hitam. It is good hitam, pathyam in Atyagni. In Atyagni Chikilsa we will find this. Then in Anidra also this is good. In Anidra also we will find the use of Mahisha Kshira, and it is practiced also. Then of course, to get more ideas about the different types of properties observed regarding all types of milks, definitely we need looking into multiple Nikhandus, multiple texts, at least in the Brihatrayi, in the Charaka Samhita, what is told, in Sushruta Samhita, what is told. We will find regarding all these things there will be quotes from the Sushrutam and Charakam. In Sushrutam it is told Mahabhishyandi Madhuram Mahisham Vanhinashanam Nidrakaram Shitataram Gavyad Snigdhataram Guru. That is a very interesting observation. Mahabhishyandi. Mahabhishyandi. Here Abhishyandi means Kapakrit. So Mahabhishyandi means it is very, very predominantly it increases Shleshma. Mahabhishyandi Madhuram Mahisham Vanhinashanam, because of its Gurutvam and Shita Vidryam, it is Vanhinashanam. Nidrakaram, it is Nidra Janagam. Nidrakaram. Shidataram, than cow's milk. Gavyad, Shidataram, Gavyad. Snigdhataram also. Snigdhata is also more in Mahisha Kshiram. There are some conflicting ideas between the explanation of this Snigdhata of Mahisha Kshiram in Charaka Samhita and Sushruta Samhita, which is quite amicably explained or settled by the commentators. There is, even if there is a conflicting statement, the best option is to depend upon Pratyaksham. As long as Pratyaksham is there, I think even Aptopadesham is not a pramana. Fine. Then regarding the next type of Kshiram, that is Ajam, Ajakshiram. Alpambuvana Vyayama Kadu Tiktashaneir Lakhu. Ajam. Alpambuvana Vyayama Kadu Tiktashaneir Lakhu. Ajam. Shoshajwara Swasa Rekta Pittadi Sarajit. Shosha Jwara Swasa Rekta Pitta Adhisara jit. Jit. It takes over. Jit. Shosham, Jwaram, Shwasam, Raktavittam, Adhisaram. In all these conditions. And it is Lakhu. Generally, Kshiram is Guru, but Ajak Kshiram is Lakhu. Why? Alpambubana Vyayama Kadutiktashanaihi. Got has got a tendency to move around very fast. Vyayamam. Then it takes very little water. It needs very little amount of food. And it eats every stuff seen around. Doesn't bother about the taste. Kadutiktashanam. Kadutiktashanaihi. Lakhu. So, because of all these advantages, Ajakshiram is Lakhu. So, where there is Agnimandyam, where there is some problem with the Srotas, Upalepam, and all these things, and if you are supposed to give some milk preparations, you can depend on Ajakshiram. Ajakshiram, that is the advantage. Alpambupana Vyayama Kadutiktashaneir Lakhu Ajam. And again, Ajam is got. Even these days, we have got, I think, more than 30, approximately 34 or 38 types of breeds of gods in India. So this quality need not be maintained across all these 34 breeds. So even if there is a textual reference that Ajakshiram is Lakhu, two things are to be taken into account. Whether the Aja, what we depend on to get the milk, and the Ajam, which is explained by Vakbhada, whether they are one and same. That is one point. Number two, the Lakhutvam of Ajakshiram is attributed to the Alpambuvana Vyayama Kadutiktashanam. If that is not happening, then you cannot expect the Ajakshiram to be that Lakhu. Of course, it may not be Guru as in the case of Mahishakshiram, but it need not be that Lakhu as explained in the textbook. In a goat farm, they may be in some sort of a confinement, literally. They may be getting sufficient water, sufficient food, but not the type of food what they are expected to eat naturally. Then you cannot expect that milk to be Lakhu. And that milk need not be that beneficial in the conditions which are enlisted in this sloka. So that should not be forgotten. Very important. And again, if the other milks, what we find as Guru, shall be little bit Laghu or little bit low in their Gurutvam, if the cows are allowed to get exposed to the sort of lifestyle what we are seeing in the case of this goat. If the cows are moving around, if the territory where they are grazing is uneven, they have to walk over the hills or uneven surfaces, they have to walk a lot to the grazing land and then again back in the evening, then you can expect even the cow's milk to be a little bit better in terms of its Gurutvam and Laghutvam. So that also we have to keep in our minds. Then in Sangraham, there are another observations regarding these animals which give us milk, that we will come later to that point. So this is about Ajakshiram. Then the next, Ishadrukshoshna Austragam. Ishad Rukshoshna Austragam Deepanam Laghu. Shastam Vadakabhanaha Krumi Shobhodararshasam. Ishadrukshoshna Austragam Deepanam Laghu. Austragam. Ustra. So camel's milk. Austragam is camel's milk. That is Ishad Rukshoshna Lavanam. Ishad stands with the Ruksham, Ushnam and Lavanam. Ishad Ruksham, Ishad Ushnam, Ishad Lavanam. It has got some salty taste. It is a bit Ruksham, against the standard concept that all Kshiram is Snigdham. This is Ishad Ruksham. Not completely Ruksham, but Ishad Ruksham. You cannot grade this milk as Snigdham. That is the only problem. Neither as Snigdham nor as Ruksham. Ishad Ruksham. Similarly, it is Ishad Ushnam as well. Prayah Payaha Shidam, but Ushtrakshiram is Ishad Ushnam. And because of these properties, it is Shastam, it is Prashastam in Vadakabha, Anaha, Krimi, Shobha, Udara, Arshasam. Ushtrakshiram, we find the usage in Udaram. Regarding the other conditions, it all depends on the availability. Unlike the Ajakshiram or Goatshiram or Mahishakshiram, Ushtrakshiram need not be that freely available everywhere. They live in a particular type of environment, in a particular type of climatic zones comfortably. Of course, we are dislodging them from their natural environment, true, but naturally they have got less adaptability when compared with that of cows or goats. They tend to live in the dry, arid climates, deserts, and that sort of climatic zones. And Vadakabhanaha Krimishobhodarashasam, those who are exposed to, or those who can avail the luxury of having camel's milk, may try these things, because lots of works are going on camel's milk. Lots of researches are going on camel's milk. It has got a lot of clinical advantages, even though the taste is not that good, especially if you boil that camel's milk. This salty taste will become very, very dominating, and it is quite hard to consume. But fresh camel's milk is not having that issue, especially if you get acclimatized with it. And this has become some sort of a magical stuff these days in many areas. I have seen parents traveling even over across the borders of countries in the Middle East to get fresh unpasteurized camel's milk to give to their children who are in the autistic spectrum. Camel's milk has seen to have some positive influences in the gut status of autistic kids. So camel's milk, I think generally we do not give any attention to these lines in the textbook while we learn in our undergraduate or postgraduate classes, because we think, okay, this is good, it is there in the textbook, fine, Beyond that, we do not care for it. But that is not the case. This is becoming a star these days. This Lavana Rasa Yukta Ushtra-kshira. Fine. Then the next is about Manusha-kshiram. Manusham Vadapittasrg Abhighada Akshirogajit Tarpanaschodanairnasyaihi. Tarpanaschodanairnasyaihi. So the consumption style is also highlighted. Manusha-kshiram, human breast milk, that is supposed to be the basic food for human beings, like any other animals. In the first period post birth. So that is supposed to be the most balanced, most precious, most important food for the baby. But beyond that, generally, this is not used as a food, and this is not available also. It is for the God's sake. I think this has not become a commercial product these days. Of course, there are breast milk banks available, or at least evolving, because I think researches are going on that way also. Like the cord blood, breast milk is also kept in banks for future consumption. So things may change, the picture may change soon. So here in this Manusha-kshiram is used in a different way. Tarpanaschodane nasyaihi. That is the way in which it is explained. Tarpanaschodane nasyaihi. You can find the lines from Charagam. Jivanam brahmanam satmyam satmyam. Jivanam brahmanam satmyam. Snehanam manusham payaha. Navanam rektapittasya. Tarpanam chakshiroginam. So in Rektapitta, this is used as Navanam, and in Akshiroga, it is used for Tarpanam, whereas Jivanam, Brahmanam, Satmyam, Snehanam, all these properties are there for the Manusha-kshiram, and that is how the baby survives and grows. And we should look into those references, what we find in the Balopachara in the Uttarasthanam or wherever it is, and we should find how these areas are explained. We find that Kshirada stage of the development of a baby and how things are done. Many things about the weaning and all these things. I think it may be interesting to recollect all of them at this point of the reading. Fine. Then Ahrudyam tu ushnamavigam. Avikshiram. Avikshiram. So previously we found Ajakshiram. Here it is Avikshiram. Avigam. Vadavyadhi haram. Hidma shwasapitta kapapradam. Vadavyadhi haram. Hidma shwasapitta kapapradam. So it is Vadavyadhi haram. So obviously it has got Vada Shamanatva. It is Ushnam. And it is Ahrudyam. Ahrudyam need not be bad for heart, but it is not that tasty, not that hrudyam, not that palatable. So that could be the way in which it is to be explained. So it is Vadaharam. That is why it is effective in Vadavyadhi. But it is Pradam. Pradam, which gives, which causes, which precipitates what? Hidma Shwasam. Hidma and Shwasa are predominantly Vadiga Vyadhis. Still, it is Vadavyadhi haram, but it causes Hidma and Shwasam. And Pitta Kabha Pradam increases Pitta Kabham, increases Pitta Kapham. Anything which increases Pitta Kapham is not very good for daily consumption. That should be kept in mind. So here it is Pitta Kapha Pradam. So I think we can find this in the commentaries. In Sushruta, the Hemadri quotes Sushruta. Avigam madhuram snigdham guru pitta kabhavaham. Avigam madhuram snigdham. Still it is ahrudyam. Interesting. And pitta kabhavaham pathyam kevalavadeshu. Shwasecha anila sambhave. So it is good in Shwasa. Obviously, it will be good in Hitma also. But that should be anila sambhave. That means kevala anila janya Shwasa Hitmas. It is good. So what is given in Ashtanga Hridayam, that means Hitma Shwasa Pitta Kapha Pradam. That should be read as the Shwasam and Hitma, which are basically Pitta Kapha predominant. So in Pitta Kapha predominant Hitma Shwasam, it is contraindicated, whereas in Vadiga, Kevala Vadiga Shwasam and Hitma, it is good. Again, the physician should be very keen to observe the dosha vikalpa. You cannot just name a medicine just by listening to the name of the vyadhi. Hidva, you cannot offhand prescribe or suggest this particular food item or whatever it is. So there are many things which are to be understood in these contexts. So I think as it is 8:59, we will stop our Kshira Padham at this point. We will continue with the rest of the Kshiram in our next session. If there is something to be added from your personal experiences, please come up with your ideas. And otherwise, we will stop here. Vaidya Nilesh.
Yes, sir. Definitely. If somebody wants to add, they can please add their experience. So recently I saw a video in which they have developed a technique by which they were making artificial milk.
Yes.
So don't know how much good it is.
Yes. Me too saw that video.
Yes. So there is one query. Please explain how Ustra Kshira is useful in autism.
How it is useful in autism is a tough question. How it is used, I can explain. It is used in the fresh form, without boiling or without pasteurizing. Actually, it is very difficult to procure because the selling of this unpasteurized milk is not permitted in most of the countries. So it is quite difficult to procure, but it should be used that way only. And interestingly, if it is boiled again, you cannot use it. Some these days, maybe I mean, against the law of the land or so, I do not know. This camel's milk is available in fresh form in Tetra Pak. So parents collect it, maybe if some 3-liter Tetra Pak or something like that, and keep them in the refrigerator and give for maybe continuously for a few days. So that itself, I do not know how far it is good, but it has become a fad these days to run after the camel's milk in ASD kits.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Yeah, there is something added by Vaidya Beatrice. It is complicated, in fact. Here in France, they pushed industrialization to such an extent. It is terrible, very difficult to have good product nowadays. True, everywhere, everywhere.
Yes, they are trying to manipulate each and everything, I think, sir.
True. Vaidya Jitendra, you have tried to explain something?
Vaidya Jitendra?
Hello, sir. Sir.
Yes, yes.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Sir. Whether raw cow milk can be taken like sthanya or it has to be boiled and taken, whether there is any references regarding this, sir.
Yeah, we are coming to it. Actually, Dharoshnam Amritopamam. That is how it is explained. Dharoshnam Amritopamam. And interestingly, in that context, Hemadri explains it in a very beautiful way. What is Dharoshnam? There he is using the word Yasya Mukhameva Patram. That means the milk is milked right into the mouth from the cow's udder. So that is Dharoshna. So if it is not possible, don't go for it. So and that is supposed to be Amritopama. Dharoshnam Amritopama. But ideally you should have a Deshi cow in your own cow shed, and there should be somebody to look after, or you yourself look after, and then you may be lucky enough to have the luxury of Dharoshna Kshiram. Otherwise it is quite difficult. Not difficult, it is impossible.
Thank you, sir.
Fine. If
Okay,
nothing more is there, then we can conclude.
yes, sir, definitely. I think we can conclude today.
Fine. Okay, Nilesh,
Yes.
everybody.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Okay. Bye. Bye. Welcome. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Okay.